ITD looking to improve highway to Emmett. This comes by the Boise Dev by Margaret Carmel. On your way there, the northern edges of Ada County and Gem County are experiencing rapid growth with new subdivisions and businesses popping up along Highway 16. For very understandable reasons, the growth is putting a strain on the highway's infrastructure, and Idaho Transportation Department, or ITD, is currently reevaluating its plans for the area. ITD is considering several options, including widening the highway, building frontage roads, and redesigning intersections. The goal is to improve safety and efficiency for both commuters and locals living near the highway. The cities of Eagle and Star are also weighing in on the project. Star Mayor Trevor Chadwick hopes to see ITD remove a curve in the highway and build an overpass to improve the safety. He also wants to see the highway limited to express traffic with limited access points, so it won't be like the Eagle Road. Emmett Mayor Gordon Petrie is conflicted about the project. He said widening the road would make it safer, but it would also draw more traffic to the area. Quote, "So what do we do?" Petrie said to the Emmett City Council chambers. "Do we increase the number of lanes? Do we become a mini Southern California? I take the position that if you build them, they will come. You encourage traffic when you accommodate traffic," end quote. He is particularly concerned about the speed limit near the Payette River Regional Technical Academy, which he says is too high for the current conditions. Lastly, Tina Heffley, the Gem County Chamber of Commerce CEO, supports widening the highway. She said it would make the road safer and reduce the number of traffic deaths, which, speaking of which, Highway 16 has, in the 4 years between 2018 to 2022, had 344 crashes, and of those, 10 of them were fatal. ITD says it will take input from all stakeholders when deciding the future of Highway 16. The agency plans to have a design ready in 4 years and construction starting as early of 2023. Which, on that note of 2023, that's not soon enough. I've vented about this before on the podcast, but in America, there was a point when we could build things really quick, like dams within 2 years with federal approval. Like an agent would come out from the federal government in the 1800s, inspect it, and then the dam would be built. The only thing that was like the restricting part was the agent getting from the federal government to the dam site to approve it. This shouldn't take so long. We need to figure out a way to make it more efficient. But with that said, I will say that the road going from Emmett or heading up that way, Highway 16, it does badly need a bit of help. Also, I feel like there should be big flashing signs along that road, because the one thing that pet peeves me, and I'm not a speeder, we'll put that on the record, is that the road, there's a section of it that is 65 and it's a 2-lane road. And you'll get people who are driving on that 65 mile an hour, highway, right? And they'll be doing 55 or 50. And they have a line of people backing up behind them. And they're not accelerating at all. And you're just like, this is a highway. Move! I understand if someone's like 5 under if they were like 60, but I've sat there, looked at my speedometer, and seen like 50, 55 as I'm going, and I'm either right on them or I'm on the line of people, and it drives me mad.
Yep. It's rough. I only drive up to Emmett occasionally, but I cannot imagine commuting from there. Now, having said that, Mayor Petrie's statement of, you encourage traffic when you accommodate traffic? No, you're wrong. Traffic will come. So I lived in Austin, Texas, and Austin had that same idea. They said, you know what? We're not going to improve our city roads infrastructure because that way our city will stay small and we won't grow. Yeah. And you know what happened to Austin? It exploded.
Boom.
And everybody complains about the traffic. Now, I don't know, maybe the city saved a bunch of money because they didn't upgrade their roads. But goodness gracious, they're now paying for it because they're having to upgrade everything after the fact. And they're now so far behind that Austin's roads will never catch up to what Austin's roads should be.
Except if you cut red tape.
Well, yes. But even then, the problem is just to do construction on a thing means you have to shut down that thing.
Yes.
Like to widen the highway means you have to close some of the highway. And now you're restricting access. So if your roads are already overcrowded and now you're restricting access, that's a problem. So one of the things that I appreciate about Boise is it seems like we're forward looking. We're saying, all right, things are growing. We're going to expand them. We saw Chinden Road over the last couple of years get a big old upgrade west of Eagle Road, and Chinden's now awesome. It's a 4-lane road.
Just hums along.
There were some problems out by the Zamzos out there, and they got that taken care of. I don't know what the problem was there, but they built a 4-lane road.
Also widening the freeway from the Nampa exit for Karcher and all that to 3 lanes all the way out to the furthest Caldwell exit. That was really smart. So there's no bottleneck anymore there. It is heavenly.
There's a lot of things that I see that we've done really well. We're even upgrading the turn onto Highway 16 going north from, is it Eagle?
They're making a full-on like brand new connector, and there's going to be, I think, a stretch of freeway that runs all the way up to that Emmett Highway 16 and connects it to the main interstate.
Yeah, and it's going to be awesome. But then you're going to get onto Highway 16, and it's
going to bottleneck.
It's going to bottleneck. And it's going to bottleneck on Highway 16 because Highway 16 needs to increase. And so, I saw them building that intersection. I said, oh, that's awesome. They're building this intersection out, and then they're going to continue on Highway 16. So to hear now Mayor Petrie saying that, no, we don't want to increase the size of this road.
Well, in all fairness, he is conflicted. He isn't shooting it down.
He better be conflicted.
John's like, I have some words. Don't do to Idaho what happened to Austin.
Yeah. Be smarter. Be smarter.
I know some people that live out there in Emmett, and Emmett's in this weird space. And I have people out there that I know they're going to be listening that love its small community atmosphere. And I give you that. It has that. But I think there's a way to do both and to be careful when doing them. Don't get me wrong. I don't think we should rush ahead with things. But when it comes to the traffic side of things, unless you're saying that you feel that Emmett is independent enough that you don't need the rest of the valley and that you can do all your shopping and everything just in Emmett area, then all right, I get it. I mean, the one thing I did hear is that the city council over there in Emmett, and maybe this will affect us, but they capped certain areas where houses can't be developed because they're designated as farmland area to try to hold on to more of the farmland. And then they capped the size of any lots that are built there in Emmett. I think it's like an acre. Don't quote me on that, but it's like a cap size. So all the properties still have to be reasonably large. And I think also that each one of the houses that go in out there, they have to pay. Each house has a certain, I want to call it like a utility tax, but each one of them per house that's built, they get charged a certain amount that goes towards the new roads and the new utilities and everything that has to be piped in there to pay for that new house.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's that tax part I think is a smart thing for the rest of the state, and more towns should do that. But part of me is conflicted on that housing one, where I understand you want it to keep it rural and you're trying to incentivize that, but here in Idaho, the demand is high. People want to come here, and so what you're doing is you're now shrinking the available market. You're artificially telling the market you can only get this large. Right? Because there's only so much land. And so what do we know about markets? When the product that everyone wants becomes less, what happens to prices that everyone's already crying about in Idaho? Everyone already hates that prices.
They skyrocket.
They explode, which if we want to figure out a way to make housing affordable in Idaho, we shouldn't as much as we really want to. I don't think the solution is stuff like that where we're setting certain lot. I mean, I can understand lot sizes to an extent, but limiting the amount of houses in a sense that are being created, we should find effective ways to have more housing built that integrates properly with community and doesn't destroy the culture that exists.
And figure out how to build these things efficiently and cost effectively. Part of that would be lowering some restrictions or rolling back some code requirements. Because again, coming from the construction industry, there are a lot of our building codes that are out there that seem to be put in place. I won't overstate it, but seem to be placed partially so that more expensive products can be sold.
I think I was listening to someone that we both know and listens to the show, but he works in HVAC and different stuff.
Huh?
And he was telling me that the Biden administration, they passed a new regulation that requires they redid basically the rating system for the efficiency of heaters and AC units and all that. And it requires now, the new one requires everyone to be a higher, like, how do I put this? Imagine a scale of 1 to 10. And then that's your normal scale. But the new scale has been shifted to the right. So the thing that used to be a 1 is a 3 or a 4 or 5 on that scale. And so anyone that says, say you're trying to go get your heater and everything or whatever, you have to get, instead of getting the efficiency 1 isn't even an option anymore. The bare minimum is you have to get a 3 or a 4 to be even within that grade, which that costs more. And thus I've heard actually their amount of sales and work, there's some days they're not even working.
Yeah.
There's just not any sales.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's as an industry professional who is in the construction world. Now I'm not a contractor. I'm not an installer.
Don't give him a bunch of phone calls. Don't flood him.
Right? Yeah. Gosh, I don't answer my phone anyway. It's okay. But yeah, the nationwide restrictions are ridiculous. And I've done a lot of design work in California. And it seems like almost every jurisdiction idolizes California building regulations and wants to be like them.
No, don't do that. No.
Yeah, and they're terrible. And it's super expensive to build anything in the cities in California or Washington or Florida or Oregon. Any of those states, and Florida's a weird one, but I think Florida, because it only has flipped conservative recently. Florida used to be a bastion of liberalism and save the earth stuff.
Kind of like Hawaii.
Yeah. Thankfully, I've never done any work in Hawaii, but yeah, I don't know. I take beef with the people that continue moving our codes forward at rates that aren't healthy.
So are you saying, John, that the reason we have a housing crisis in America is partly our own doing?
Yes, actually, that is absolutely true.
Hey, who knows? Maybe at some point we should try to do a segment with you helping with the research to talk about that, a special local yokel exclusive. Maybe we'll do that at some point with your expertise.
Sure.
John's like, all right. But we very much rambled off. It will be interesting to see how that develops. I will admit, adding one last point on this story before we move on from it. The ITD was looking at trying to widen the road and doing stuff, and they already had a plan. And this also, I think, falls in the city council and zoning and planning and stuff. But by the original thing where they were just going to widen the road, the whole way through and just make it wider. But in the time that passed between that plan and then what ended up happening is there's so many different houses and developments, according to ITD, that have developed on the side of the road, they can't confidently widen the road in its current form and it not destroy some new property and different things and the amount of money and legal and everything it would take. And so that's why they're having to revisit the plan. So for someone who's been in this longer than I have and watching this story unfold, that is an element to be aware of.
So because they dragged their feet, now they need to go back to the drawing board.
This is why people should be involved in their local politics and encourage our representatives to keep moving. As much as it may be boring to go to those city zoning and planning things and city council meetings, you can do a lot of good for stuff like this. A lot of good.
Yeah.